Hey and welcome, msKIRAspeaks. Before we get started, I ask that you watch the videos till the end, subscribe, and turn on your notifications. We're back again for another episode of Bel-Air, Season 1, Episode 3, Yamacraw. So as the episode opens, Will is getting the third degree. How did the drugs get in your bag? Where did you get the drugs? Will doesn't know how the drugs got in his bag. They're not his drugs. Someone put the drugs in his bag. If he's lying, he's flying. He puts that on his mom, West Philly, and everything he loves. And I mean, it makes sense. Will just got there. So where would he get drugs from this early in the game? We also see Aunt Viv and Uncle Phil. They're questioning Carlton. He says he has nothing to do with it. They ask him, what about Connor? Will believes it's retaliation for him getting knocked out at the party. But Carlton insists that is not the way Connor would retaliate. Freeze Will out socially and running his mouth, yes. But he wouldn't plant drugs in his bag. I mean, lies you tell, because you gonna stand beside him, I guess, huh, Carlton? You don't believe me? Drug test me. I'll pee in a cup right now. So Uncle Phil says, if Connor didn't do it, who else could it be? Carlton tries to say, some people may think less of Will after attacking me and Connor. Stay on topic, Uncle Phil tells him. So they ask Will, besides Connor, who would do something like this? Only person he can think of is Carlton. But of course, Carlton says he would never do something like that. After all, he's family. Really, Carlton? Okay. So the next day, the boys come downstairs and they get ready to head for school. Uncle Phil says he and Aunt Viv plan on getting to the bottom of this. Will has in-school suspension and they plan on meeting with the principal. Aunt Viv also asks Carlton to ask around too. He says sure. He hopes whoever did this gets caught and punished. Even if you know them, Will says. He says yes. Sure. So Uncle Phil says that he's glad that they're on the same page. If there's foul play, there will be consequences. So at school, Carlton confronts Connor. You should have told me before you actually did it. What were you thinking? Will attacked us, remember? Carlton tells him, you went too far. He did. They could get expelled or arrested. Connor says he can't prove he planted that shit. Carlton says his parents can, and if they find out, they're going to think he was in on it too. He says his dad has busted 5 LAPD cover-ups. He is nothing to play with. And his mom, she's a black mom. And you don't fuck with black moms. No, you don't, because we find out everything too. If anyone can find out, it's his parents. They have to free Will. So Aunt Viv and Uncle Phil, they are sitting with the principal who says he's conducted a thorough investigation. But Aunt Viv, she doesn't look satisfied. So Uncle Phil asks, all right, how about you walk us through the process step by step? After debriefing with security, they spoke to Will, his teachers, and several classmates. Now, my question was, Will just got there. So how are any of these people going to speak to Will's conduct? Make it make sense. So Aunt Viv asked, what about the cameras? She counted 15 just walking through the front door. The principal looks and he's quiet, and Uncle Phil asks if he's reviewed the tapes. Apparently not. Aunt Viv and Uncle Phil were me. You didn't watch the damn tapes. Then why are we here? And it's crazy because this is how this stuff actually goes down if you don't have a parent or a guardian that's able to stand up for you. So the principal says, they found the drugs in his bag, and Uncle Phil reminds him, innocent till proven guilty. Principal says they will be looking for a needle in a haystack. It could take a week to look over the footage. Aunt Viv's like, you have 24 hours. Don't test me. So then they go and they get Will out of in-school suspension. Uncle Phil tells him the investigation is pending while they review the security footage. So for now, he's no longer suspended. Will, he's taken aback that they're still moving mountains for him. And they're ready to see him start climbing. Will, he gets his things and then he hits the teacher with the swish. Because earlier, Will was drawing and the teacher was like, no doodling. And Will's like, this is art. And he crumbles it up and throws it in the garbage with a swish. So he got his little karma back. real quick. So we see Lisa, she congratulates Will, but basically says, don't plan on that justice. Kids like Connor sidestep punishment every time. If that ain't the truth. She doesn't understand why Carlton is still friends with him. Will does, and I do too, because Carlton thinks they're equals. So she's like, just be happy you're sitting pretty for the moment. Oh, you think I'm pretty? So they're getting their little flirt on, but before they can get good into it, a few girls come up and they're like, good luck at the game tomorrow, Will. They walk away and Lisa's like, the first. And he asks if she's coming to his first game, but she's got a swim meet. So she's like, maybe, I'll come by after. So they're playing around and she accidentally hits Will's hand and he gets like either mustard, honey mustard, same stuff on his blazer. He uses a dry napkin to try to get it out, and he's just making it worse, y'all. So finally he takes the blazer off, he turns it inside out, and we get a classic Fresh Prince moment. A little bit of nostalgia for you guys. So at home, Hilary comes in and she and Aunt Viv quickly discuss them coming to Will's defense. Aunt Viv said it was the right thing to do, and she's like, we might want to discuss tomorrow's menu. She wants to switch up the original plan, but nothing fancy, just some finger food. So she runs down the lineup until she gets, and your crab cakes with the secret sauce. So Hilary complains, but then she reluctantly agrees. Aunt Viv hopes that it may lead to another job opportunity for Hilary. That conversation don't go so well. So Will approaches Carlton in the library. He says an anonymous witness came forth and said they saw someone who doesn't even go to Bel-Air Academy messing with his bag. And Carlton's like, that's awesome. You're a free man. And Will, he wants real justice because now they're not even going to look at the footage. Take the win and move on, Carlton says. So Will walks off. He's like, liar. So Uncle Phil and Jeffrey, they're playing pool and they're talking about how good it felt to come through for Will. And he's talking about Aunt Viv, taking on the principal. It was impressive. Better than her coming at your neck. Now that Will is clear, he has some other things to attend to. His advisory team is saying that the black voters feel that he's disconnected. And we saw that in his big boy interview. Jeffrey says as much, and Uncle Phil has to remind him that his salary doesn't exactly make him a man of the people. So what's the move, Jeffrey asks. He's going to attend the Alpha Crawfish Boil tomorrow. He needs to win over Reverend Lamont and lock in his support. With his fraternity brother's support, the black vote moves into his column. Good move, Jeffrey says, and he'd come, but he's off to Catalina. I told y'all, this new Jeffrey, he is swaggy AF. So Carlton joins Lisa for her pre-meet tradition. She wants to know, like, what's up? Why are you really here? And he's like, listen, I really want to apologize for everything that's happened lately. And they discuss the pitfalls and things that happened when they were in their relationship. And she's like, listen, you were there for me when my mom died, and I supported you through your anxiety. And I must say that I'm glad to see that the show is tackling mental health. It's very important. So she says she didn't stop caring about him, and I just hope that does not cause him to do something crazy. So Uncle Phil comes in to talk to Will, and he's like, he's glad they cleared up the situation at school, and he gives him a copy of The Alchemist, and Will's asking what it's about, and he's like, it's a boy who finds courage to follow his heart and pursuit of his own personal legend. It's changed a lot of lives, including his. So as he leaves, he asks, you like crawfish? And he invites him to the crawfish boil. His fraternity is hosting, and it's a crowd that he should get to know. It's really important. It's also really important for the campaign. So Will's like, he's down. Uncle Phil's like, that's what it looks like. Will's like, what? You stepping up, giving it a real chance, and being a man of your word. And they, zap it up before he leaves. So Uncle Phil, he's really getting warmed up to Will. And I wonder if we're going to get any of Uncle Phil's backstory, since this is we're moving away from the OG story. Uncle Phil is gone, and Will gets a DM from Rashad, I'm assuming. Better have a vest when I catch you. And I mean, but how hard can we be when we're using emojis? But I digress. And you can tell this spooks Will a little bit. So it's the next day, and Aunt Viv, she's picked some flowers because she's getting ready for her ladies to come over. And they discuss the situation with Will. Carlton says it's hard to love someone you don't know, especially if they don't respect you. Respect is a two-way street, she tells him. So Aunt Viv says it's not easy, but they know he's capable and he will always be their first priority. So they talk about him impressing Henry Miles, and Aunt Viv tells him, try and have a little fun. But when Uncle Phil comes in, he says he's ready to go. Carlton finds out Will's going too, and he's not happy. So he says they'll all be back in time for the games tonight. It's Will's first game and Carlton's lacrosse game. And he's irritated that they're going to have to split the time between the two. Just selfish. But answer me this. So the school is having a swim meet, a basketball game, and a lacrosse game, all in the same day, all at the same location, and almost the same time. We're going to let that one fly. So the alpha crab boil is hitting. Uncle Phil goes over to say hi to the Reverend, who's talking to some other folks. He pays Uncle Phil dust, but he asks, can he have a moment of his time later? They run into another one of his frat brothers, and Will asks, who's Yamacraw? Carlton's like, that's Dad's old nickname. That's where he's from, Yamacraw, North Carolina. And your girl had to go run the Googles to make sure it wasn't a made-up name, but nope, they're on point with this one. So Uncle Phil and his frat brother Derek, they talk, and he tells them he's been busy, but he'd never forget the alphas. So he introduces Carlton, who, he already knows, and Will, and he says they're ready to work. At first, Carlton is down, but then when he hears they're going to have to set up tables and chairs, not so much. Will, on the other hand, he's ready to work. So the ladies toast at the Banks estate to sisterhood. And the ladies discuss the contributions for the lupus fundraiser. They ask if Aunt Viv needs help because, she's doing it all. They call her Phillips Michelle Obama, but she says there's only one Michelle. I know that's right. So she jokes later about actually speaking to Michelle for her advice. And she said, girl, hold on. And they laughed. And I was like, that's not funny, but not that funny. But anyway, so they all crack up. And her friend reminisces about when all eyes were on her and Philip was on her arm. A lot has changed since then, she says. She had Hilary. Speaking of Hilary, so she introduces Hilary and she shouts her out as the master chef and tells them if they ever need a top tier caterer, just slide on into her DMs. Will is working while Carlton is texting, and he asks, who's the guy shading Uncle Phil? Reverend Robert Lamont. He leads the largest black church in LA. He used to spend a lot of time with them and officiated his parents' wedding. But Carlton believes that his dad got a little too successful for him, and Will says maybe wealth made him lose touch. So Carlton, he spots Henry Miles, who owns a bunch of funeral homes. He's trying to get on his radar because he sits on the board of Black Minds First Initiative. It would be the perfect internship for his application to Princeton, and Will tells him, you're rich. You can get into any college you want with your parents' money. But Carlton says he doesn't want everything handed to him. Could have fooled me. So one of the ladies is asking Hilary about pledging. And when she starts to talk about Berkeley, Aunt Viv jumps right on and she tells them, she took the last semester off to cultivate her culinary skills. Like a gap year, one of them says. And Hilary sets the record straight. No, I actually dropped out of school. So it gets a little awkward after some conversation in there, and the ladies walk away. And Hilary and Aunt Viv, they go back and forth. And Hilary tells her she can create her own opportunities without her. So a little later, Aunt Viv, she's venting to her sorors about being a progressive mom and Hilary living in the pool house rent-free. Too much entitlement. So a lady comes over and she's like, seems to be Hilary's problem, and she's still waiting for an apology. She set up the Hot Cuisine interview on the strength of Aunt Viv, and Hilary had the nerve to drag the company online. Aunt Viv didn't know anything about it. She painted the company as racist and sexist. Hilary comes over and she says she's sorry, she's not sorry. And Miss Lady, she leaves. So back at the crawfish broil, the Reverend finally comes over to talk to Uncle Phil. He tells him he's the only candidate running on the platform of both juvenile justice and police reform. He'll stop at nothing to serve the people. The Reverend's like, he doesn't know what the people have to worry about on a daily basis. Where were you when the soup kitchen closed? Uncle Phil says he won't apologize for working hard to build a life for his family. We were your family too. When his first roommate relapsed, the brothers were there to get him the help that he needed. Where were you? So he's like, he didn't know, and he apologizes. So Reverend's like, you showed up today because you need our help. He'd endorsed Brother Yamacraw, but he stuck with Brother Bel-Air. and he excuses himself. So Will, he overhears the whole thing, and Uncle Phil excuses himself, and he says, his son has a lacrosse game. So he tells Will to go get Carlton, and you can see Will's wheels are starting turning. He's really, really thinking about what to do here. So the ladies, they watch Hilary's live, and they applaud her for calling that company out. And Hilary wants to know why she should apologize. And I knew in the last episode that this was coming back. And I mean, like I said, if it were me, I wouldn't have called out the company personally, but I don't have that bank's money or influence like she does. So the ladies begin to tell stories of things that they've had to put up with in their workplace because of the color of their skin. Aunt Viv and Hilary, they step off to the side, and they're still at odds with the issue. Will approaches Carlton, who's playing chess with Miles, and then he changes his mind and he tells them Carlton is a good dude and they'd be lucky to have him. So Carlton starts to talk about Black Mind's first internship. He asked to be floated to the top of the list. It would mean a lot to him and it would help with his college application. Mr. Miles says he would, but he resigned from Black Mind's first last month, and now Derek runs it. And see, that's why you have to be careful how you handle people, because he was giving Derek a little attitude about them tables and chairs earlier. So Will gets on stage on the mic, no less, and introduces himself. I'm here with, Philip Banks, Uncle Phil, or whatever. So the brothers start telling him to get off stage, and it's starting to get ugly. So Uncle Phil comes up and is like, come on now. Will starts attempting to step, and child, one thing is true. Them frats and them sororities, they don't play about their colors and their letters. Will was in danger. But we know Will has that personality to make things happen. He tells Uncle Phil, come on, Yamacraw, show me what you got. And they start chanting, Yamacraw, Yamacraw. Uncle Phil, he steps up and he shows him how it's done. He hits them steps, something swaggy in his suit, and the brothers in the crowd are feeling it. So when he's done, Reverend says, now that's the brother I've been missing. Welcome back. And Uncle Phil says it's been in his heart, never left. He asks if they can at least have the conversation now. And it's Will for the win again, while Carlton stands in the back looking salty. So after everyone is gone, Aunt Viv and her one sister Joan talk about her painting and how talented she is. When Will, Uncle Phil, and Salty Carlton walk in, Will tells Aunt Viv Uncle Phil was stepping. Uncle Phil tells her that Reverend Lamont agreed to support his campaign. Everyone is there and they're talking, Joan to Phil about Vivian's artwork, and Jeffrey comes in and gives that energy to Joan. And it all ends with Carlton stomping up the stairs, talking about he don't want the internship anyway. So Aunt Viv tells Will his mom sent his things. And as he runs up the stairs, Uncle Phil tells Viv, your nephew may have helped me win the election. Told you he was special. So Will has got boxes on boxes on boxes of kicks. I mean, Nikes and Jordans. He's like a kid in the candy store. So he picks a pair for the game. And next thing we know, it's game time. And Will, he's not starting. Hilary gets there and she's got some smoke for mom, but her pops, he's not trying to hear it. He's like, oh, okay, ladies. So we go back and forth between seeing Will and Carlton on the field playing lacrosse. Where is everyone? Carlton asks. And then Aunt Viv so we get back to the basketball game, and these two, Uncle Phil just done told them to chill, but they start having a whole conversation, and Aunt Viv tells Hilary her time is up. She doesn't need them. Go out there and make your own mark. Ouch. Hilary says, challenge accepted. But tell me this, if your passion for art was so real, why'd you walk away from it? So Uncle Phil's like, listen, Will's on the court. So Will, he's making shots when Lisa comes in to watch. Carlton, he gets knocked down and he's annoyed. So coach tells him to get his head in the game. Will, on the other hand, he's putting up shots and he's being a team player. Will gets knocked down and Uncle Phil's like, it's a foul. So Tyler steps up because he's ready to, throw them bows and start the fighting. And Will grabs him like a good friend and pulls him away. He's like, I got you. So the family goes to leave while Will is, taking shots at the foul line. And Uncle Phil's like, okay, just 5 more minutes. And it was nice to see them show Will that support. Meanwhile, Carlton, he gets a personal foul and he gets thrown out the game. He's pissed and he's screaming and he's yelling, he's cussing, and Coach tells him to get his gear and get off the field. So he gets into the locker room. He's angry. He gets into his locker. He gets his little drogas out and he takes a hit. he can hear the basketball game going on. The game is close and the coach tells them this is it. So Carlton comes in to see his family sitting in the bleachers and watch Will hit the game-winning three-pointer. They lift Will up and everyone is cheering, and Carlton walks out and looks like he wants to cry. Then, to end our episode, we see one of Rashad's boys approach. He shows him his phone. It's a sports update about Will online. I found you, you little cocky motherfucker. And that is where we end. Guys, so is Rashad gonna go to Bel-Air to find Will? What do you guys think? Please put your thoughts down in the comments. I hope you'll come back and join me for episode 4. It's already aired, so I'm gonna try to get the review up soon before episode 5 airs on Thursday. I think we got 10 episodes this season, correct me if I'm wrong. If you've made it this far, put a black and a gold heart emoji in the comments for Yamacraw. While you're here, please check out some of my other content. Thank you. And before you go, like, subscribe, and share. I appreciate you. Peace.